Hello? It would seem that my mic was not on the whole time. Nice. Well, I just explained everything I did. Now I don't want to go back and do it, so I'm just going to keep going along. I'm going to try to be a little bit more detailed about all the stuff that you might have missed. So I'm using data get everywhere because it's very neat. It uses a couple levels. Data get acts as like an array, like a multi-dimensional array access. So if we use this as an example, if I had an array, it would look like option, and then there would be a key here, which would be whatever the key value is. So let's just say the key value is 1, and then there would be another level, and it would be control ID, and then there would be something. So if I had an array like this and I wanted to access ABC123, I could just data get array, and then I could say options dot 1 dot control ID, and then this would either return the value or it would return null, which is the default value for data get. But if I wanted to return something specific, like a string that said default, I could do that. But I'm just going to leave that off, so it'll return null. Since this is going into the database, and I don't want to put in string values where there should be an integer or another kind of value. So let's get rid of that. Let's just update this part. And then here, I need to concatenate the string with the key. Concatenate again. And then check the unit test, make sure I didn't break anything. And it looks like I broke something, so that's great. This is a good thing about writing a unit test, you know exactly when you broke something. Like I just fixed one line and I broke something. Or, all right. It also works on objects. So here you can see I'm using the arrow operator, which means get me the property of this object. So I can do the same thing. I can just say data get ID. The reason I couldn't use data get here is because I'm actually adding or updating to an existing array. So I can't grab a value and then add a value. Data get doesn't work that way. Like it wouldn't know what array to reference. I guess you could write a function like that, but that's not the way that data get works, at least. So that should have fixed it. Yeah, so we're back to green. Keep going. Move down. See another opportunity here. Let's replace this, and this is probably expecting an array, so I want the default value to be an empty array. Array key exists. Yeah, I'm probably going to replace this with data get anyways, because if I have an array that looks like answers and then, I don't know, null, array key exists, I believe will return true. And let's just make sure that I'm not lying. So answers. So if I do array key exists answers on our true, right? But data get will return null, which would result to false inside of an if statement. Or the equivalent if you're using, you know, just basic syntax, you could do isSet, right? False. So array key exists is a little misleading, and sometimes people overuse it, or they just don't understand how it works, and then they get caught. Like here, if this was null, it would come down here, and then I would say, you know, something like trying to iterate over non-iterable, which you definitely don't want to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and update that. I wonder what the performance difference is in between isSet and data get. It's probably better on isSet because it's part of PHP instead of a framework, and data get does a couple more steps, but I don't know. I like consistency, so if I'm using data get everywhere else, I might as well use it here too. And then since the next line I've checked, I could just use the operator, but I still like consistency, so I'm going to use it again. Or if you're someone who doesn't like repeating themselves, you could extract it to a variable, say answers, you know, and then you could answers. But I don't know. For the sake of doing it in 2 lines, I don't want to add another variable when I can just pull the values from an existing one. And fine. And the same thing here. I'm going to update this. Make sure that it pulls off of data get. So if the object doesn't have the property ID, which could happen, if the query for creating the experience failed, but there was controls, and then it came down here and it said, try to give me this value, it would error and it would say trying to find property that does not exist on this object. So a lot of what I've learned over the last few years is just about protecting yourself. So you try to write code so that you don't trip over errors as much as possible. And unfortunately, when you start out, you just do whatever, whatever you know. And for most people, that's accessing the array directly, which is fine for the most part, as long as you do your sanity checks. Like if you don't have this, like I said earlier, you can do isSet checks. But yeah. So this goes to another method. So we just keep going down levels here. So now we're doing create experience field answer. So if we go back to the unit test, looks like there's no implementation of that, which is interesting. Experience field answer passes answers from data field. I feel like this might be some legacy code that's not being used. Well, we might as well write a unit test for it. So this is field 1. What type is it? It's text. So there wouldn't be an answer field on text because you could write anything. You could have an answer for ice cream because it could only be what's rankings. Okay, so I'm gonna add answers. Actually, I should probably do it at the top so I don't get lost. Answers. Now I'm not really sure what it accepts. Seems like it's looking for an array. And control data, it's looking for the answer. On the experience field. So let's see. Okay, so it's looking for an array that has two keys. One is it's not looking for anything, it's just passing it all up. Okay. We're gonna leave that the way it is for now. Just make a couple changes here, like a set. Like this whole ternary operator can be simplified when you use data get, because what it says is if this value is set, then set it to the value, otherwise not, which is what data get does, right? So data get control. Wait, I'm a liar. There's an easier way. Yeah. Right. Yeah, we can do it like this. It says the same thing. No, it doesn't. What am I saying? Right, like this. So if control ID is set, use control ID. So this line here is the same as saying like that, right? So if I take this part out, it's just going to use whatever value this is. So if this is not set, then give me null. So same thing down here. Well, let's make sure we didn't break anything. Let's go back to the unit test. Let's exit out. Green, didn't break anything. Perfect. Experience field repo, create. Okay, so we've gone about as far down as we can, I think. Let me check. Experience field answer repository, and then it says create, which is probably in the base class, which the repository extends eloquent repository, which looks like it's right here. So create. So all that does is make the model. So it passes an array of data. Then it goes to make, which make does what? It creates a model, fills it. See, now this kind of abstraction is kind of dangerous because if you don't know how Laravel works and you just expect fill to fill up like all the properties of that model or that object, it may not work because let's look at an example like experience. So when it does fill, it checks this property called fillable on the model, and if it isn't defined here, like if I took or like the name off, and then I just expected it to fill the name because one of the keys in the data is name, it wouldn't, because of how Laravel does a sanity check on the fillable property. A way around this that a lot of people use is to use guarded, which means like which ones do I not want to have fillable, and then if you just set it to an empty array, then it does them all. Like it lets you update any column in the table, which is okay, but I don't know, kind of don't like it because then it leaves the created at and updated at columns open, which you only really want the system to manage those. So like if I update a model, like if I had an instance of experience, and I just did like this first, and then I updated something, then it would just, and then I did save, then at this point it's going to update it at, but since I have fillable on, if I tried to do something like update it at now, and then, you know, carbon now, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't let me update this. It would update the name because the name's defined inside the fillable. But if I went the alternative route and then I did protected, guarded, and then I did something like this, then everything would be open. So then the updated at would get updated, which you don't want to, because in most cases it's probably fine because you're managing the updating the columns yourself. But if you ever have like an API that's kind of opened and, you know, you don't really do a really good sanity check, then someone could slip this in as like one of the key values of the array or the JSON, and then it would end up updating the column, and then it would just throw off all your data. So as long as you manage this and you test for it, you should be fine. Which, speaking of, I do not test for, so I should make sure I do. So I think the easiest way to do that, there's a neat little what am I looking for? I'm just gonna steal all of this. Then I'm gonna do something like, this is another neat feature that a lot of people don't use a lot for where statements. You can use an associative array, and then you just write input I'm just going to write this out real quick and then I'll explain what it does. I suspect it might not work, but I'm going to try it anyways. So what this does is it basically creates a bunch of where and clauses. So it says where the column tether ID is equal to this value using like the what's it called? I want to say arrow operator. I could be wrong. That's what it's called in JavaScript, but yeah. Anyways, it's saying that this column name is going to be this value. And then for each entry in the array, it creates a new where and clause. So this is pretty neat. I bet you I probably broke it though. I bet you it doesn't work. Oh, look at that. So now I know that each one of these values was in the database. So I could even dump this and you could see actually. So you can see like, I guess you can't see because those are auto-generated by Faker, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. Okay, so these ones are hard-coded so we can tell, but let's try to hard-code this one and then we'll be able to tell. I don't know. What's the name of the survey? Super Monkey. And if I dump it again, and then I can see Super Monkey. And then if I take off the exit, it should still pass. Perfect. Okay, so I'm comfortable with that. Everything's going in there. Eloquent repository. What was I checking? Right. The controller method was going and doing a create. That's okay, I guess. I'm not really big on the repository pattern. It's something we follow. But I feel like sometimes it creates just more unnecessary. It creates unnecessary like lines of code. Like then I have a whole new class to reference when all I wanted to do was create a model. But I'm gonna leave it for now. Not particularly fond of that, but I notice here this can be simplified. We can move the array keys and values. Actually, no, we can't. Yes, we can. Answer, and then same thing, I'll just steal this portion. Put that there, and then, oh. So I should be able to run that and it'll still pass. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted there for a minute. So if we want to be really lean here, we could even get rid of this and move this straight into the, just like that. That's okay, and then we can even move this. I'm just trying to make this as lean as possible so it's easier to read. And eventually so creating, okay, yeah, I'm at the part where I want to be able to I want to be able to create an experience with all the nested models at once. And if it fails, I want to be able to roll it back. So I probably have to wrap it into a transaction. I can't remember what version of Laravel. I think this one is probably one of our applications that is on the on a very old version. Yeah, 5.2. That's unfortunate. I've been really enjoying 5.6 and 5.5 lately. A lot of the testing stuff around files is super great. I definitely recommend you check that out. Okay, what am I looking at here? Right, relationships. So most of them are one-to-many, and I believe, yeah. So I'm gonna start ripping out a lot of this, a lot of these calls to another method. So let's go back down here. Simplify this. Let's remove the repository stuff for now. We might add it back in later. I just I can't remember what that model is called. I just want to be able to read everything in one line and know exactly where I'm going. The repository name is pretty apparent if you look at the structure of the like experience fields, answers, controls, control options. It's pretty straightforward, but still I want to say app experience field answer class create. Right, so this should already be pulled in. Oh no, I had to pull it in. And then if that's all this function is doing, I'm just gonna remove it. Actually, I might have multiple instances of this method. Okay, I do. So I have to update both instances. Let's try to clean this up here. What? Copy. Find. Right. So then I can just go like this. Dump that here. Then it's the same thing, right? Just boom. Boom. Experience field ID is already gonna be null. Yeah. Cut. Paste. Paste. Perfect. Don't need that. I have another instance of this method called somewhere. Find, create, experience, field, answer. Apparently I don't. What? Did I break anything? Let's make sure. Okay. So I'm gonna remove that. Cleaner, a little bit leaner, getting there, baby steps. Okay, and then, so now I need to look for answer, colon, class, create, right? And then here, if I did it properly, I could filter out all the values within there. And then I could just do a create many. So I'm trying to think of how I could do that. Wonder if I still do a for each. Sanitize the input and then just, is that a little much? I don't know. See what that looks like. And let's just go ahead, pull that out. So we're gonna end up doing what we said earlier. We're gonna pull it into a variable. And then we're gonna check here. Answers. And answers. And then we want to do I think I missed something crucial here. Let's oh bugger. Get status. Nope. I'm inside the box. Separate tab. Code. Let's go here. Uh-oh. What's going on? And then I want to see survey experience controller experience. Experience, yeah, that's what I'm missing here. Experience field ID. Don't know how that got around. Oh, right. Right, I believe this is legacy code and I don't even think we're using it, but it's still good for practice. I'll just experience field ID, this will be that value. I have to add this to every iteration. answers, right? What I actually want here is to build something that says field answers. Right. And then field answers. Which is just going to end up replacing this, right? Close that off. So that'll create an array, and then I can get rid of this, and then just yeah. Okay. Giving myself a hard time here. I did this backwards a few times. All right. So add a new element. Like that. Field answers. And then I want to create many. Just to make sure that isn't something new, I'm going to check. Check the source. Use the source. Has anybody seen a talk by Colin DiCarlo? What's that company he works for? Oh, Vehicle? Yeah, they're great. Canadian company. Makes me proud. Yeah, so it'll just loop over it and do it for me. But for my purposes, it looks cleaner here. I guess I'm performing 2 loops if I'm doing that. So that isn't an improvement actually. Huh. Okay. I'm gonna put that back the way it was. Strangely enough. It's gonna go like that. Gonna get rid of that. Yeah. Look at here. Here I actually do that. Yes, in this one I should be able to do it off of the experience field because you can see I'm pulling the foreign key. So first indication that I should be able to use a relationship. So I should be able to use this one. Should be able to just go field, and then if that is set up within here, and then it should be answers. It's set up perfect. I should be able to say answers and then create. Very nice. This for loop makes me uncomfortable. I feel like I could create a method here that would be create answers. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Let's just make sure again, didn't break anything. Oh god, I need to be inside this one. Still green, still good. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. This whole section can be extracted to a method, right? So I'm just gonna end up saying experience field create answers. Now ideally you probably want to do a unit test around this, but I probably should. Ah, darn it. Hate when I make myself do work. No, I'm kidding. Alright, let's do that. Experience field test. Do I have one? I do not. Look at that. Do I have a model test somewhere? Oh, right there. That's just down that one. Close that, paste. This is just going to be experience field, and then it's going to be test create answers. Don't like doing that anymore. There's nothing wrong with this, but you run into trouble when you try to mock and you're like leveraging the like the internal testing framework, I guess, of Laravel. It's better to grab it from the container. So I always do app. I could be wrong, don't quote me, but I've just found that this saves you a lot of headache when you're doing testing. Makes it easier to mock and things like that. Yeah, I do need to save this and give it a name, don't I? I'm just gonna get rid of that. And then, yeah. Did it save to the right place? It sure did. Perfect. Let's pull that in. Make sure we don't get an error on that. Create answers. What should it return? Probably a collection, right? If I were to do create answers, it would probably return a collection. So eloquent collection. Then we want to make sure that the return value, control field answers. Actually, we're not even going to do that. We're just going to say, let's just go answers. Move that up here, get rid of that, and then say create. Answers, and then I don't know, let's pass in some stuff here. What are we going to pass in? So it needs to be an array of arrays. And then, so since I'm inside, oops, did I pull in the wrong one again? I did. Look at that. So, what does it have? I was in the controller. I have an answer and a value. Those feel like the same, but I guess not. Answer, blue. Value, bluish, I guess. Bluish. So I want to make sure that answers is an eloquent collection. Now I'm pretty sure there's a better assert for this. I think you can do assert instance of PHP unit. Oh, that's Stack Overflow. I don't want that. Assert instance of expected actual. Yeah, might as well try it. Why not? So the expected value is this. Answers. Pull that in. Vendor eloquent collection, not a support collection. Though they mostly have the same functionality, they are not the same, especially when you're testing instances. Okay, well, this should fail now. And I can't use. Experience field. Experience field. Test filter. Test create answers. Call the undefined method answers. That's exactly what we expected. Right, because when you do test-driven development, you write a failing test first, and then you go to experience field, and then we go create that method somewhere. Let's create it right underneath answers. And actually we won't need to do that, we'll just call that. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna let the test tell us what to do. We're just gonna create an empty method. So now it should tell me that the method exists. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's the strange thing about using anything like Homestead or Vagrant Box. Sometimes you're faster at saving the file and refreshing or hitting a command before it has time to sync the files in between the guest and the host. It's weird. I find you see it a lot more on the Windows environments for some reason. Failed asserting that null matches a collection, right? So what we should do is get answers, create many, and then write something like that, right? Let's see, did I get it? So it's failing on not finding the table. Well, integrity constraint violation, right? But it's because I'm doing just a test case. The way that we set it up, we have a database test case. So I just need to make sure I'm extending the right class, and it'll do all the database management stuff. Let's try that again. Still the same. Integrity constraint violation. Yes. So what's happening here is that I'm trying to create answers on this, and this is a brand new instance of experience field, which means that it doesn't have an ID. So when I try to do answers and create, it tries to grab the foreign key, and then it's not there. So I wonder if I can show you. Yeah, so usually if your model has values, they'd be in the attributes or originals, but it doesn't. So what I have to do is use a factory and say field, factory, experience, field, class, create. I should label my stuff the way that I like to. Act, assert, the triple A's. Arrange, act, and assert. Triple A. And then I should be able to do like that. Right, so this right here, what it's going to do is it's going to insert a record into the table that experience field references, which it should be at the top here. Experience field. Right, so if I dump that out, it'll be a model, and you'll be able to see that these will be populated. So let's have a look here. Oh, and I broke it again. Ah, yes. And an experience model a field model requires an experience. So I have to do that, and then I have to create, or I guess I can experience field. You know what? Just gonna hack this in here. Experience ID. Experience ID. So I don't know if I went too fast there, but so the experience field table has a foreign key of experience ID. So I have to have an experience to create a field, which I should have known, but I forgot. My unit test caught it, so that's good. Let's try it again. What's the next error? Oh, I didn't pull in the class. So it says unable to locate factory name with blah. Name default experience. So if I pull that in at the top, should work now. There we go. And now we can see attributes. We have an ID. So now we should be able to go ahead and use eloquent relationships to create the answers and return an eloquent model. Or I mean, sorry, collection class. Or collection instance. Let's try that again. Oops, I have a die dump somewhere. There it is. One more time. Seems I broke something else. Subscriber experience answers. I'm pulling off of the wrong one. So this is actually the wrong class. It should be field answers. And I'll return this as many experience field answer class. And then I just swap this for that. Update the name so it reflects what it is. And now this is all in the wrong class. So cut. Actually, wait a minute. No, it's not. Let's try that again. Right. I didn't pull that in here. Pulled in the class. Array does not match expected string type string. Where's that happening? Experience field test, line 32. Line 32. Array given. Really? Did I miss something? Oh, I think this might be I think in the new ones it returns collection, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's where I'm getting confused. Pretty sure. What class is this? Illuminate. And then foundation. I've lost myself. Where am I? Illuminate, database, eloquent. Database, eloquent. Relations. One, many, and then find, create many. If I could type. Yeah, the new ones return a collection. So the good thing here is that now that I'm writing the test, if I ever do an upgrade and then we run the test suite, it'll tell me that I'm not getting what I expect. So what I'm going to do here instead, I'm going to add a first assertion, and it'll be that is array. Actually, I'm just going to say, is this true? And then is the answer's return value an array? Which is what it is now. And then if I say the first answers, and then I say at index is 0, so the first answer should be an instance of experience field answer. And I did that backwards. The expected always goes first. The actual value goes second. So let's try that. Which one failed here? Failed asserting that blah 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 object matches expected. Oops, sorry about that. I need get class, because what it's trying to do is compare the string that this returns to the object I had there. So if when I do get class, it'll compare two strings. Let's see if I did that right. Okay, let's do instance of must be a class or interface name. Well, now you're just being difficult. Well, I'm gonna just alright, let's do it the right way. Let's have a look here. So I think what's happening is this returns just the class name. Oh, no, I didn't import it. Failed asserting that field answer field is not an instance of. Those look pretty identical to me. Am I missing something? They look the same. Don't know what's going on here. Does anybody see the difference? I sure don't. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way here. We're just gonna do equals. Actually, do I even want that? I don't know. Ugh, it's just on the edge. I'm trying to keep everything within the 80 character limit. I don't know why, but I like when it doesn't go over. I know that's the soft limit and the hard limit's 120 because everything in our code base is PSR2. But I don't know, something about that 80 limit. I remember being in college and we used to do COBOL, and there was a hard limit at 80. COBOL with DB2 on a IBM mainframe. Or mainframe. Was it a mainframe? Probably not. I'm not that old. Kidding. All right. So now we got a unit test. Feels good. So here we can dump all this data into there, right? But now we're back to the same problem because I want to pass that off. So the idea is here, I want to be able to say experience field, I can't type, trouble, create many, or create field answers, and I just want to pass that in, and then I want to be able to remove all of this. But the problem I'm going to run into is that the data isn't formatted this way, right? So I have a few options here. I can pass in that data the way it is, and then I have to format this, right? So I have to change that the key is the answer and that the inner content is the value, which isn't bad. I definitely think there's a way to do that. Just trying to think here. I can do array keys, and then I could map, array map. Or I can just pass it in, and then I can do all the work behind the scenes. But I don't want to dirty up this method, because if I want to call this up somewhere else, I probably won't do the same process. So I think I'm going to have a delegator, or that's probably not the right name for it. I'm going to have another method that's just going to call that method after I've sanitized all the data. From JSON, maybe? It's probably not right, but that's what I'm going to go with for now. And then I get all that. So I can just uncomment this, and then I'm going to take all that. And just to help myself out here, I'm just going to diecast, because I want to make sure I only get an array. Actually, you know what? I'll just do a sanity check here. No, that seems like overkill. I'm just going to typecast. Actually, if I do that and then it isn't one, then it'll error. I'm going to leave it off. So right, I just pasted all of that in there. And then I'm just going to do a little check here. I'm just going to isArray data. And I'm just going to move this into there. For each. No, I don't want to do a for each. Yes, I do. But so what I'm going to do is field answers equals, and then we're going back to what we had before. I know this seems strange. I'm going through a few steps here. Just kind of going through my thought process. And then, so all it's going to do now is just going to call the above method with the formatted data, right? And ideally, what I didn't do again is I should have wrote a test. But the funny thing is, it's going to end up looking a lot like this one because they're so similar. From JSON, and then from JSON, and then all I have to do here is is make this the key, that the value, and then this is what I'm going to be testing. Yeah. From JSON. And I broke it. Undefined variable answers. Right. Oops. Data get key. I don't need that. Let's try that again. Well, good thing I wrote a test. I clearly broke something here. Field answers. I feel like there's something wrong in there. That definitely does not look the way it should. Enter content. Did I mess this up? So I get 0. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not going to come through like that. It's going to be like that. There it is. Much better. And we're green again. All right. So look at that. That's much better. One line. I just removed an entire method and a for each from the controller. It's much leaner. It still makes sense. I'm not a fan of this line. I could typecast, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't decided whether or not I'm gonna join that bandwagon just yet about typecasting everything and typecasting return values. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is for now. I might circle back to it after I make a decision on how I want these to look. Okay, what's next? Let's move up the chain here. Got another for each. This is probably another sign I need to extract this to something else. Controls. Definitely. Yep. So right here you can see I'm passing the foreign key again, which is another problem. This means I could probably end up doing the same thing I just did. What it's going to look like: create controls, or sorry about that, create field controls, and then I'm going to pass in whatever data I need. So let's get down to it. Let's get inside here. Got a method, then we got more content and another method. This part's okay. I like that it's using relationships. I don't particularly like that there's another for each in here though. I would much rather it just be control create options from JSON, and then just pass this in just the way we just did it. Same thing. Seems much better, much cleaner. So let's go ahead and implement that. Let's figure out what that looks like. Let's see, I just want to make sure one more time I didn't break the store method. We're still green, which means my endpoint still works. The whole controller method still works. Okay. So we're creating a control, and then we're adding the options to the control, which means I need a method within the control model, which is actually called experience field control. And it looks like I do have a test class for this. Test option. Okay, has many. That's all right. So we're gonna add another one. Let's go test create options from JSON. You know what? We're gonna need to go up one level, but we'll start with this. This is bothering me. Once again, I like grabbing from the container. So I'm just gonna update it now while I see it. And then the same thing here. I don't need all of this. I can just control, or it shouldn't even be called a control, it should be options. Actually, I don't even need this. I can just dump this in there. Look how lean that is. Look at that. But it still works too. Let's have a look here. Test option, and then this is called field control test. Inside the field control namespace, green. Perfect. Okay, let's keep going. So I'm gonna need a few things here. So arrange, I'm gonna need an experience. Well, I'm gonna need a control, right? Factory experience field control class create. But a control needs a field, so I have to do that too. Pull that in. And then a field needs an experience. I know there's a way, and it's gonna bother me now. I know there's a way to create relationships within factories. Let's have a look. Factory. I want like nested relationships. Persisting model factories, adding relations to models. There you go. Okay. I wonder just how deep I can go on that. I could use that. No. It's gonna look ugly, isn't it? this one would end up looking like, wow, that's terrible. Empty rand. Why did I do that? Poor me. Old me. It's the thing about reading your old code, you know, you always see stuff that you wish you hadn't done, but at the time you didn't know any better. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just, you know, kind of iterate on your code as you learn. So survey, and then, you know what? I'm just gonna import it. This is bugging me. Let's just import that. And then this is gonna be experience. Field, class, create. This is also gonna need something. Can I go that deep? Ah, man. Experience ID. And then, so I'm going to add another closure because I need to go another level deeper. Class create. Right. I think that's how you do it. I've written the full namespace everywhere. It's bugging me. I'm just gonna go fix that real quick. Got this nice little shorthand or key binding for importing namespaces. I'm just gonna make use of it. Highly recommend you set up your own key bindings for Sublime. It makes your life so much easier. Experience, import user. And you end up, look at that, it even sorts them out for me, alphabetical, perfect. Okay, where was I? Control, so a field, and then that field has an ID. So I wonder now, if I just go ahead and do this, will it work? Test, create options from JSON. Oh, messed up the syntax somewhere here. Line 43. Missed a semicolon. Look at that. Actually created nested relationships for me. That's pretty neat. Should have done that sooner. Okay, so now I want to act. I want to say control. This is going to be create options. So I want to create. Create options from JSON. Now what does that payload look like? So it adds the control ID, which I'm not going to need. I just need to pass in all of that. Why am I doing that? I don't need that. Why did... So yeah, kind of my own ignorance. Three some odd years ago. What I'm doing here is I'm adding the control. Yeah, I'm adding the control ID to the array of options. But what I didn't realize when I first wrote this is that I'm doing it off of the control model. So I already have the control ID, so I actually just don't need this whole loop. And nor do I need this check, because that used to be for checking the array key. And what did I just do? That was waste. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that either. Look at that. Nice and clean. So I don't even need this method. I'm just gonna simplify this. It's just gonna be create options. So yeah, this is getting much better. I like this. Answers. What do the options look like? That's what I need to figure out here. Don't know. I believe they're in the integration test, so they should just look like this. Control options, options. There it is. I want this. This is what should work. So test. Pass this in. So this is a nested array. And then the same thing I did over here. I should check again. An array. This will be options instead. So let's try that. Let's see what we get. Probably something broken there. Oh, I changed the name of the method. Called the undefined function create options. You are most definitely right. Options, there it is. Pub create options. And then this will just be data. And then return this options. Create many data. So now it should pass, or not. What did I do? Unexpected public. I probably forgot a semicolon somewhere. Unexpected public field control line 69. Line 69. Was it just slow on the update? It was. And this is going to be control option. And import that. Perfect. It's coming along slowly but surely. It's going to be great. Sorry, mild distraction there. Switch up the music a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Create experience field control. What does that do? Oh God. So first thing I'm going to do here, I need to update these. This is just not, no. That is all, no. Data get, first off, because this one's an array access. I can't do that with the first one because it checks the control ID, but the odds of the control ID not being there because it's creating a model. You know what? Just gonna put it like this. For now, I'll probably end up removing it. What we didn't check after we made all these updates is whether or not we broke the controller implementation. No, it's good. Keep going. Again, here we go. So let's just grab all of these. How many more are there? Jesus. Come on. Almost there, yes. Losing some lines here, cleaning it up a little bit. Filter var is ordered. So I use it here, but I used it nowhere else. Interesting. Filter var. I believe that's because we were on an old version of Guzzle that passed booleans as strings. So for now, I'm going to leave it. Probably end up removing it. This goes to a repository. I'd rather not. I would much rather not. So app, which repository was it? Field control, experience, field control, class, create. It's the same thing. This can go down here. This is all unnecessary. Right? I'm just going to end up moving all of this into here. I think I feel comfortable with removing that. It's going to go away in a few minutes. You'll see why. Once I get all this cleaned up, starting to look in better shape here. I'm going to show you at the end. You'll see I'm going to do a diff on a git diff, and you'll be able to see the difference just in the sheer amount of lines of code saved. Like it got moved to other classes, but it's still smaller. And not just that, it's a lot easier to read. The hope is that eventually I'll get this to the point where anybody can come in and understand exactly what I wrote, which was not the case. Come on. Almost there. Funny thing is, I'm probably going to end up moving all of this anyways. The pings in my ear. Okay. Now all this can just get dumped right into this portion here. Right. Just like that. So now all that method does is create the field control. How do I turn off that? Got it. Sorry about that. So now let's look for the references for this method. Okay, so you want up here, what is this inside of update? Ooh, that's not good. So this is the create one. One more time, let's just check. Make sure we didn't break it. And I broke it. What did I break? Failed asserting that null is not null. That almost sounds like a good thing. Assert not null. 136. Experience not null. What's going on here? To array on null. This is actually returning null. That happened with all this? How far back do I need to go? I broke something here. That's what it was. Oh, man. Now I gotta redo all that. Oh, you're kidding me. I'm gonna save myself a little trouble here. Sorry about that. I'm playing a little catch up. Green, that's what I like. Okay. Okay. So I have two instances of this, which makes it a little bit more difficult. What I am gonna do instead here, I think it's safe for me to do this. Yeah. Just gonna pass in the model. It'll save me a little bit of code. And this will be that, and this will be experience field. I don't mind typecasting objects. It's native types I don't like typecasting. Don't have a really good explanation for you. I have to think of it over and then. Okay. This, I actually don't like the way it's being done. It should be available. So this should still work. No, I broke it. At which point did I break it? Experience field should be a model is. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Oops. So I need to leverage the relationship so that it knows that experience field is foreign key for controls. That should do it. Or not. Do I need to import this as well? There it is. Strange that the error is null not null instead of like undefined class. Might as well update the docs while I'm here. Still don't like this part here. I think what's going to end up happening here is I'm going to roll everything up. I don't like how this is being passed off. Because inside of the method, I don't know whether or not that value exists. I don't have a good check. And I shouldn't need one either. Yeah, so it's going to end up being experience field, create controls, and then this will solve a lot of my problems down here. Now there is 2 instances of this method being called within this controller, so I'm gonna have to leave that method for now until I remove the other implementation, or refactor that other bit of code as well. But my main focus right now is refactoring the store method inside the controller because it's tested. Unfortunately, the other one isn't, which is going to be what I'm going to tackle after I figure out this whole section, or this entire store method. So might as well get right into it. Let's write a create controls test for the experience field class. Experience field test. Let's see, there isn't anything, is there? No. Actually, this one is a good starting point. Create controls. I'm going to steal this from the other experience controller integration test. I'm going to steal that from here. I'm going to take the bigger one here. I'm going to take the one with the options, just so we can test all the way down. Actually, that should probably be tested in isolation. So I am going to take the smaller one for now. That looks horrible. Let's try re-indent. Oh, thank you, Sublime. Sublime is the best sometimes. No, I'm kidding all the time. Okay, create controls. Right. Right, and I learned how to do this in the previous one, so I'm going to go update that model factory for experience field. Oh, got it. Right. So I need experience ID function return. Oh, actually, I think I messed these up. It's supposed to be like that, isn't it? Broke something somewhere here. 927. Model factory. Line 34. Oh, it's because I was halfway through writing it. Factory experience class. Create ID. Semicolon. Much better. Even better. They have the same name, so I have no idea how this is running. Because I'm not running that class. Look at that. This should fail. Cannot read it clear. Yep. Create controls. And then it should tell me. Should be controls. No method. Call the undefined method. Create controls. It says query builder, but it's actually looking on. Well, it does a look in the model class first. It doesn't find an instance of that method, so then it looks deeper and then it doesn't find it. So we have to add controls and then, oh geez, create controls from JSON. Right, that's actually what I want to name it. Controls, create many data. Create controls from JSON. And then I'm going to go through So the strange thing here is that the key is actually the JSON ID. Like this and that should match, but this value is not always present. It's probably an indication that something wasn't written right, but for the time being, we're just going to override this value with this, which is what you see here when it's doing inner content, get data JSON ID. Wait a minute, I could be wrong. What am I talking about? Is it doing what I think it's doing? Am I the only one seeing this? Yep, it's wasting time. Okay, so we don't even need that. We're not going to override that value. So we don't need to sanitize any of this. Just going to pass it right off. There you go. Right, should be field control, pull that in. Perfect. So this is going to be experience, field, create controls. Ah, yes. It's going to end up failing here. If I remove this, let's see, if I go here, I run the controller test, it's good. Uncomment this, remove this, try it again, should fail, yeah. Because we're not creating the options inside of that method. So this actually is going to end up being it is going to end up being create controls from JSON, because I need it to go one level deeper, which means I'm also going to go and do what I said originally and take this one here, because it has options and I want to make sure that those options get created. I should do an additional check here as well. This assert equals should be 2 field controls. And then where I should be able to do options. Okay, explain myself a little bit here. So I want to make sure that this field has controls and that there's 2 of them. And then I also want to make sure that the second control with JSON ID 2, which is this one, ice cream ranking, has options. Oh, I didn't write that right. Right, so I want to make sure that the second control has one option. Yeah. Which it should fail right now because there's no implementation for it. Test. Oh, jeez. Failed asserting that 0 matches 1 expected. So, right, it created the controls, but it failed here. I can add a message here, and you'll see no options were created. See, no options were created. So we gotta go back. In here, no, yes. Create answers from JSON. No, create controls. From JSON, and then here we're going to go for each. Data. Control data. The strange thing here is I'll be able to do controls. I think I might have to do fresh. I'll check that after. Actually, here I should be able to say yeah. Okay. And then I need this logic inside of here. Right? This is going to be control. I feel like there should be a better way of doing this. I feel like there is. Line 69. 89. Oops. Line 89 is an array. man. So is it going to return a collection? Collection class. And then eloquent collection. Ugh. So this one works. So I'm returning a collection. The first object in that collection is an experience field control. The count is 2. And then there was one option created. So now I can lose all of this. I feel like there should be some magic there. Create nested relationships. That's not what I want. Ugh. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's unfortunate. I think you see where I'm going with this, right? Eventually I'm just gonna I'm gonna end up passing just the experience field data to probably to the to a method inside the experience model, and it's just gonna do create fields, and then all the other logic is just gonna cascade off of that. So it's gonna end up looking like experience create fields, and then inside of that function it's gonna go one level deeper, and it's gonna say for each field, and then it's gonna go and it's gonna say, you know, field control, create controls. So what you're gonna end up with is just it's going to be like a small bunch of nested loops inside the experience model. And I think that's going to turn out a lot cleaner, because now all the logic to create all the relationships is going to be within their respective classes, instead of polluting the well, not polluting, but like, you know, adding unnecessary lines to the controller, because it's pretty big already. Yeah. Not that lines of code is an indication of, you know, poorly written code or anything. It's just, yeah. Usually it's some indication that there might be something wrong. Anyways, I'm just going to run through the test suite here. Just going to see if anything went wrong. Oh, looks like a few things did. So I broke the integration test. And I bet you it's because which one? Integration test. Failed asserting that null is not null. Usually indicates that I forgot something. Call the undefined method create controls. Yep. That would do it. From JSON. Should be green. Now there was another test that broke. I'm probably that one's got mocks in it. It's not an integration test, so it ends up mocking all of the repositories that used to exist in there, and then checks that each repository method is called, which I actually just don't like as a way of testing anymore, because I shouldn't be trying to test, oh, this method was called. I should try to test that, you know, I hit this one method and I got the expected result, not that the inner workings of that method are being called. You know, like, I'm more concerned with the result than how it was done. So I think what I'm gonna do, Mark, I don't remember the name, skipped. What's the word I'm looking for? Skipped. There it is. I know this seems like I'm cheating and I'm just removing a test, but the truth is that I'll probably end up deleting this entire class, because as I said, I'm more interested in the result, and that's what an integration test does. You know, it runs through and it says, did all of this stuff happen after I hit that endpoint? Actually, I don't think that exists in this one. Just gonna leave it. So one more time, just go through the whole test suite. And for my own sanity, I'm gonna do a front end check. So survey post refactoring part 1. Bunch of validation rules here. I'm just going to go through really quick. This is obviously dummy data. And it is an API call, so I'm just going to open the network tab so I can see that nothing fails. Let's make this a little difficult. What's this? Province. This is going to be province. This is going to be the option. It's going to be Ontario. If I could spell. Make sure I give this a proper name. Province. And great. So it gave me a 200. Seems like it's worked. Let's just make sure I didn't break the update. That's not the right one. This one, you can see my UI is a little messed up. I'll have to address that at some point. Province. Let's just update some stuff here. Let's say updated. Updated spelling. Updated. Looks good. 200 returns. Let's have a look one more time. Updated. Perfect. Province updated. Everything seems to be in order. Cool. So hopefully the next time I'm going to keep rolling this up. And then eventually it'll just be one method call. And that method call will end up calling other methods. I know that feels like kind of what was originally in here, but the idea is just to have, a good separation of concerns. So everything that has to do with experience fields is in the experience field model, and the answers and the controls are all inside their own models, and that they're managing their own relationships instead of having arrays that then create a model. Yeah, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. See ya.